Hello, I'm Azai. Welcome back to Christmas Tina. So I took a short break, ate some dinner, made some, dessert, ate some ice cream. Homemade ice cream is actually a lot tastier. Well, I wouldn't say a lot tastier, but it's a lot healthier. So I have been making my own ice cream for quite a bit. Tastes delicious, makes me full, and I can sleep pretty well. But all right, I am back, and let's continue on where we left off, shall we? After spending 3 days on a shaking container ship, I was finally in Japan. All right, we're back to Jing. The streets were as lively as I'd been led to believe. I could see a cluster of tall buildings nearby. That must have been Shinjuku. I had done the bare minimum of research beforehand, but the real Tokyo was even more overflowing with energy.
和我居住的小地方比起来，的确不一样。
Other young people wearing strange clothes passed me by.
ねえねえ、そこの彼女たち、今暇？
何嘘。
よかったらちょっとお茶しない？
どうしよう、ポケベル来たし。
People were having such animated conversations all around me. I couldn't understand them, but they seemed affectionate.
这就是把马子吧？
Okay, Jing. In my studies, I'd learned that hitting on girls was apparently acceptable in Japan. Are you serious? Is that actually true? I don't even know. Seeing it in person was still something else.
在中国可没有这种事。
Men and women meeting in public for the first time would never be as casual as what I had just seen.
还是正事要紧，赶紧电话吧。
Oh, sorry. I was supposed to contact someone as soon as possible. He was going to give me a job. Others who had gone to Japan before me had arranged it. These kinds of connections were necessary since we didn't speak the language.
这就是电话亭吗？
I'd never seen a phone encased in glass and standing outside before. I inserted the card I'd been given and dialed the number they had told me. Not having to use coins seemed convenient.
Moshi, ござまだ。
Said moshi moshi. Japanese?
不好意思啊，能不能说中文？我不会日语。
你是景萧然吗？
按照之前说的，我已经到元素了。
好的。那你想要什么样的工作啊？
什么样的是指？
想要来钱多的，还是来钱少的？
Simple question. I was glad the discussion was so concise. I was hoping I could find a job and a place to sleep before nightfall.
来钱多的工作，具体是指什么呢？
重体力活，或者非法的活，抓到的话会被强制遣返。
Wow, this is a stark difference compared to a freaking kana. They just straight up tell you, hard labor illegal kind. Interesting.
那还是要来钱少的吧。
Oh man, he's good job, Jing. Good job.
怎么了？
你这家伙
是吗？
年纪轻轻就这么没胆量。
不用您操心。
I needed money. If I wanted to take the entrance exams again, I definitely needed some savings. Still, I didn't want to be arrested trying to achieve that. Taking risks like that rarely ended well. Besides, I didn't want to be repatriated either.
那工作就麻烦您了。
不好意思啊，赚钱不多的工作。
那我该怎么办？
我看看，给你找别人介绍。对了，是有一个特殊的工作。
特殊的工作？
虽然没啥兴趣，顺便 就给你介绍一下吧。
ここで会ってるんだよね。
It's pretty big. I'd gone to the area I was supposed to, and saw an unusual building. There was a fence around the property declaring no entry. One section of fencing was open, which I took to be the entrance, but there was no lock. Nobody would go in voluntarily anyway, I thought.
中の建物、廃墟みたいにも思えるんだけど。
I whispered and entered. I'd heard nobody would be here, but I hid the crutches near the entrance just in case. If my employers found out about the crutches, I was afraid I would be fired. It's so weird hiding your crutches. I said that the same.
駅。
Sorry, I said the same thing on the first episode. It's so weird. What's wrong with showing the fact that you're injured? Do you still want to find a job? I think that's actually pretty sincere, right? It looked like an old railway station. Most of the building was wooden, and much of it deteriorated. I could see the remains of rails in front of the platform. A railway line must have used the station at some point. Just a few meters beyond the fencing, the streets were bustling. But this was practically a different world.
よくわからないけど、ここに住むだけなんだよね。
It's not very well kept, but as long as there's a roof for her, I think we can make do, right? It's not like we can't clean the place. The building was aging, but it seems stable and livable. And if the toilet is bad, we can always use the public toilets. It looked like it was connected to power and gas as well.
これは予想以上に楽かも。
Just living there was probably simple enough. The building seemed to have at least a waiting and night duty room inside. Okay, that sentence was kind of strange, but alright. I was thinking about the building when he appeared.
あれ？
This is going to be awkward because Jing doesn't know any Japanese. A tall man had arrived. I'd never seen his clothes before. He looked a few years older than I was. Of course, I didn't know him. He didn't seem to know me either. Who was he? The woman earlier had explained to me that nobody was supposed to be here.
すみません。
I called out to him.
あなた、ここの関係者ですか？私、バイトとしてここに住むことになったものです。もし関係者でないなら、ここに入っちゃダメなんですけど。
The man didn't say anything. Instead, he glared at me.
你是谁？
はい？
我是来这打工的。
What language was that? I didn't think it was English. I had no idea what he was saying.
那人说这里不允许别人进来的。
何言ってるかちょっとわからないんだけど。
你快点出去！
ちょっと。
He was trying to shoo me outside. It wasn't fair. I couldn't even understand him. Perhaps he was a foreigner. I was beginning to think he was speaking Chinese. He was probably Chinese himself.
にーは
Okay. Is that really the first thing that came to mind after what he just said?
你好。
He was Chinese. Unfortunately, ni hao was about the extent of my Chinese.
你会说中文吗？
にーは谢谢。
No, damn it, it's sheshe, not shishi. No, he doesn't. No, she doesn't understand.
しょうがないじゃない。 か知らないんだから。
我不知道你到底什么情况。总之你能快点离开这儿吗？
何言ってるかわからないけど、出て行ってよ。
I had a rough idea what he was saying, even if I didn't speak Chinese. He was trying to get rid of me. I had no idea why he was doing this, but it was my first day of work, and I had to prove I was capable of doing it.
もう、あんたが出て行きなさいよ。
哎，你到底想干什么呀？
はいはい。あなたたち喧嘩しないでよ。あれ、お姉さん。ごめんね。どうやらダブルブッキングになったみたいで。ダブル？何それ？ここのバイト、店員一人なのに二人も採用しちゃったってこと？え？なんか社長が、こっちの彼、直接雇ってしまったみたいなの。それで、どうなるんですか？
Oh, that's really bad for the girl.
そりゃ、どっちかクビかな。そんな、
Oh,
那
sorry.
个，你们俩在说什么呢？
My bad, my bad.
あ、ちょっと待って。彼にも説明するから。
She pulled out a notebook and began to write something in it. Apparently, she couldn't speak Chinese, but could write it passably well. I mean, Chinese and Japanese uses the same kanji, damn you. So you can just change, or you can technically, like, basically, Chinese people will understand what the hell Japanese people are talking about, but they just don't know the pronouns. Oh, not the pronouns, sorry. The grammar. There we go.
というわけなんだけど、いいかな？
So if you're Japanese or if you're Chinese and then you learn the other way around, it's not that hard.
这不太好吧？我现在也很难再找到别的工作了。
うん、何言ってるかわからないけど、あなたも嫌だってことね。
What the fuck, this? How are you able to? Okay, then again, all right, whatever.
私もここのバイトやめたくないです。困ったわね。
She thought about it for a moment. Then she said,
わかった。じゃあ、二人でやりなさい。二人って？そうよ。言っておくけど時給はそのまま。つまり半分になるわよ。
that was the first thought that was, I was gonna question.
それはちょっと、
The money had been very good and the work appealingly simple. Still, having to split it gave me second thoughts. The man next to me did not seem thrilled either.
じゃあやめてくれていいわよ。こちらが必要なのは一人なんだから。わかりました。
没办法。
そう、
Oh, sorry, god damn it.
二人とも了承してくれてよかったわ。
Sorry, Jing, but I don't know Chinese enough to actually know when to click or not. And so, with that, we started doing this job together. This weird job where all we had to do was live. It certainly is a weird job. The year is 1987. Is this the opening? It might be. It wasn't called a bubble economy at the time.
まだ彼の胸ポケットにペンが光っていた頃、まだ私が愛想笑いも嘘も下手だった頃。
All of this was going to end. Alongside the last year of Showa. Shit, the other characters are too fast. I couldn't see the voice actors. What did it say at the end? It wasn't love, right? Yeah, surprisingly enough, from a setting like this, the game is not focused heavily on love, which I think is very, very interesting. 1987 winter, and so I slept in Tokyo for the first time, vaguely angry with what had seemed like inconsiderate behavior to me. They had no worries in the world, living a blessed life they didn't appreciate. The woman from the real estate company explained us what we had to do. We had to live in the old station, and I had to live there with him.
それって、見知らぬ男の人と、いきなり同性のようなものだよね。
I glanced over at the station building. It wasn't all that large. There probably weren't that many rooms inside. We were going to run into each other a lot. It had taken me the whole day to find this job. The money wasn't bad, and I had a place to sleep.
ねえ、あなた。
叫我吗？
とりあえず、駅舎を調べない？
这个工作可能就是为了抬地价吧。
This mismatch in communication. No luck. He couldn't understand me. It was part of a bigger problem. I was a shy sort of person anyway, and did badly in dealing with people. Not speaking the same language was the coup de grace. I think that's how you say that word. He was a young man as well. He didn't seem like a bad person. But since I had no idea what he was thinking, I was still afraid.
じゃあ私、ちょっと調べてくるね。
报酬2个人要怎么分是个问题啊。
That's probably what I would be thinking first too. I left him to ponder whatever he was thinking about, and looked around inside. First I checked the area outside. The entire plot was properly fenced. The opening I had entered through was the only one. Crowds passed by, just past the fence. We weren't far from the main station. Perhaps people were always going to be just outside.
これなら、少し安心かも。
Yeah, I'd be pretty scared too as a girl, living alone with a guy. A relief because I was going to live with a man I didn't know. I only had to walk for perhaps 5 seconds to go outside. My greatest fear was dissipating. And now I had a mind to investigate the building I was supposed to live in.
洗濯機はあるみたいね。
There was an old washing machine at the end of the platform. It was an old combination washer and dryer, but it looked functional.
ここは待合室かな。
It was just an empty room. But it seemed like there were benches in here originally. Considering the room probably hadn't been used in years, it was surprisingly clean. There was a large window making the room quite bright. Maybe someone was living here the previous year. Maybe this job was like rotated or something.
でも入り口に鍵がついてないね。
Of course, a waiting room doesn't have a lock, I thought. And the room did look comfortable if I put a futon or a bed inside.
ここはなんだろう。普通に部屋っぽいけど。
Perhaps it had been a night duty room for employees to sleep in. We'd had a similar room at school. Already having tatami mats laid out was nice, but the room was pretty small. The window was also tiny, making the room quite dark. However, the door could be locked. This was the room the builders had expected someone to stay in.
それでも待合室の方がいいかも。
I could always try putting a lock on the door, but I couldn't change a room's size. I spent some more time exploring the building. The only rooms suitable for habitation were the two I had found earlier. I also found a kitchen with a small sink and a gas stove. There was also a small bath and a toilet. We would have to share those, but we had everything we needed.
そうなるとやっぱり住む部屋を決めるのが重要かも。
I decided to talk to him. I also didn't want to have to argue about it later, so we had to settle this question as early as possible.
ねえねえ、部屋のことなんだけど。
来得正好，我刚做这个。
I looked at him in confusion. He handed me a notebook of sorts. I looked inside. Inside were columns organized by day and hour. There was room in the rows to put a check mark.
もしかしてタイムカードみたいなもの？
两个人一起工作的话，用得上吧？
I had no idea what he was saying, but I took that as confirmation. We were splitting the hourly wage, but this was a better way to organize it. The columns were very detailed. Oh, okay. There were enough of them to distinguish 10-minute intervals. I had a feeling he was a huge miser.
それよりも部屋のことなんだけど。
I realized he wasn't going to understand me, and gestured at myself and him.
こっちが私、あっちがあなた。
I pointed towards the waiting room and myself. Next, I pointed at the night duty room and him.
你想用那个房间，是这个意思吗？
He was saying something and pointed at the waiting room and me. Apparently, I had gotten through to him.
どうかな？私、待合室を使いたいんだけど。
明白了。
He nodded. I mean, I think guys are, like, you know, a bit less concerned about where they sleep for the most part. King Pile or something. What the fuck? Perhaps it just meant yes in Chinese.
那这屋归你，我用那边的。
He took his belongings and carried them to the night duty room. That room was quite small. I would have expected more reluctance, but he was fine with it.
それとも私に譲ってくれたのだろうか。
My first impression had been fairly low, and the timesheet made him look like a stickler, so that had clouded my view of him.
もしかしていい人なのかも。
I would refrain that judgment for now. I left to buy a lock for my room. The sky was beginning to darken as I left to wander Harajuku. The area in front of the station and Takeshita Street were still bustling. I found a small general store. You could clearly see that these characters are not as detailed as the main characters, even though they have faces. And bought a lock for my room. I could put it on my sliding door from the inside. It was quite small, but it was better than nothing.
これで少しは安心かな。
Even under the assumption that he was a good person, I didn't have the courage to sleep in an unlockable room, knowing that he was nearby.
それにしても、ここはすごいところだね。
I could see dancing girls wearing strange clothes and people playing the guitar on the sidewalk. Wherever I looked, Harajuku was full of young people. All the girls my age were wearing adorable clothes. Harajuku, I don't know how it was back in the day, but nowadays if you're a foreigner and you go to Harajuku, it's mostly a tourist trap because of how expensive everything is there. Compared to them, I looked incredibly shabby in my tracksuit.
私もあんな服が欲しくないわけじゃないけど。
I had to resist the urge. Saving up money came first. So I ignored the clothing stores I walked past, and instead bought 2 meals at a hot bento store. One was for me, the other for him. That's surprisingly nice of her. It was the cheapest kind, a seaweed bento. I'd considered not buying one for him, but opted to do so after all. It was evening already, and he might not have anything to eat yet.
そうだ、電話しないと。
I walked to a roadside telephone booth. My family was probably worried about me, having gone to Tokyo alone.
はい、桜井です。
あ、お母さん、カンナ。
東京はどう？何か困ったことない？
うん、大丈夫。
I explained to my mother the general situation. My parents were worried about me all alone. I told them I'd found a job. Since the telephone in the old station wasn't usable yet, I gave them the number of the real estate company.
そう、よかったわね。
うん。
My answers were vague. I told them that there were 2 of us doing the job, but I didn't tell them that he was a man. That would just have worried them. Of course, I didn't tell them that he was a foreigner and that I couldn't understand him.
でもあなたって昔から何でも我慢するところあるから。無理しないで気をつけてね。
わかった。ありがとう。
I hung up and retrieved my telephone card from the slot. My telephone card was already down to half its charge.
この減る速さが家までの距離なんだ。
I hadn't really been paying attention on the train, but now I realize how far I traveled. This is why you need a bicycle. I'm a bicycle nut now. I travel everywhere with a bicycle. 10 kilos, 20 kilos, fuck it. I use a bike and go there. I went back to the area in front of the station. People around me were giving me accusatory looks. I think I said that correctly. They'd been staring at me in the morning too, but now it was far more overt.
ダサい。何あの子。
I could even hear them talking about me. At least I was fairly sure they were talking about me. Some girls even talked to me directly.
ちょっと、あんた何なの？私？
A girl I'd never seen before was talking to me. The girls were all wearing cute frilly clothes.
何よそのジャージは。田舎者はここ来ないでよね。恥ずかしいから。
Really? Gatekeeping a town? I guess it's kind of typical though. Like, bimbos exist everywhere, right? I didn't know what to say. I ignored the pain in my legs and hurried away from them. I'd come to work. I wasn't there to have fun like them. It didn't matter whether I was wearing a tracksuit. It took all I had to tell myself that. As the sky was beginning to grow dark, I arrived back at the old station. I was carrying the lock I'd bought at the general store, and the 2 seaweed bentos.
ここだったら大丈夫かな。
I hid my crutches next to the entrance again. Why would you do that? Just...
回来啦？你去哪儿了？
あ、ただいま。
I'd barely finished hiding my crutches and so I was a little startled. I didn't understand him but answered anyway. He probably just said a greeting.
その、お弁当買ってきたんだけど。
外边差不多天黑了吧？
海苔弁だけど、よかったら食べますか？
啊，对了，刚才做的公式表。
Naturally, we had no idea what the other was saying. We could communicate only very simple things. Anything a little complicated was too much. Maybe he would understand if I gave him the bento. I decided this was a good idea and tried to give him the bag.
那这个就先。
何？
He gave me something first.
これは、タイムカード。
Man, this guy is so... It was the book he'd shown me before I left. There were checkmarks in 10-minute increments. And for today, from 4:20 to 5:40, there were just dashes.
这样可以吧？
I didn't have to ask to know that a dash meant absent. I hadn't been present and hadn't been working.
有了这个，我们就比较好分清楚了。
I had no idea what he was saying as always, but I could imagine what it was.
哦，不过你是17:45回来的，还少一个对吧？
Oh my god, this guy. He added another dash. Then he pointed enthusiastically at his watch. Apparently we were rounding up.
怎么样？是不是很方便？
やっぱり、あなたケチだね。
Good person or bad person, that much was certain. I didn't offer him the bento I thought. Whoa! Wow!
あなた、どうしてそんなに細かいのよ。
那个，这附近有没有食堂啊？
私だって、別に細かいこと言いたくないけど。
Being treated as absent if I were away from the old station was not a problem for me. Having a timesheet like that was also a good idea.
でも、今から適用することないよね。
啊，其实我想去买点菜回来自己做的。
あなただって、ここに住むなら、いろいろと買い出しも必要でしょ。
哦，对了，我在站台旁边找到了洗衣机。
We weren't making any progress. I had no idea what he was talking about.
もういい。それじゃ。
喂，话说这儿好像没通电啊。
He was still talking, but I ignored him. Instead, I went to my room, the waiting room.
何よあいつ。せっかくお弁当も買ってきてあげたのに。
People had made fun of me in front of the main station. My legs were hurting because I was walking without my crutches.
まあいいわ。それよりも鍵を取り付けないと。
It wasn't hard to install the lock since I only cared about being able to lock it when I was inside. I bought some glue at the store while I was there.
ちょっと薄暗くなってきたわね。
I tried switching the light on.
あれ？あ、電気がつかない。
At first, I thought the bulb might be dead and might be old and broken. But the problem turned out to be more fundamental.
もしかしてここ電気が止まっているんじゃ。
It wasn't surprising the more I thought about it. It was probable that nobody had used the building in years. It was going to be very dark soon. The electric heaters weren't going to work either. If only I'd known about this before the sun went down. It was quite cold.
これはちょっとピンチかも。
I hurried out of my room. Most stores were going to close soon. There wasn't much time left to buy anything. Yeah, this isn't like today where there's like 24-hour markets anywhere. In Japan, it's insane.
怎么了？什么事这么着急啊？
大変よ。ここ電気が来てないの。
You probably already bought the stuffs.
我正好要出门呢。
Oh, maybe not. No chance. There's no way to have a conversation. I tried to ignore him and just leave, but
那刚才的公时表我贴墙上了。
he seemed to be talking about his timesheet again and how to use it. That was a good idea and everything, but we didn't have the time. The stores were going to close.
じゃあ私また外に出るから。
关于这个记录的方式，让对方来填比自己来填要好吧？
よくわからないけど、ここにチェック入れたらいいのね。
No, it's the other way around, you fool.
那我也要出去买东西了，你帮我填一下吧。
He handed me a pen. Apparently, I had gotten through to him. I tried to mark myself absent, but
画错了，是我那栏。
何？なんか違うって言いたいの？
你还没有发现吧？这儿现在没通电，所以我要出去买东西。吃的也还没买。
いや、だから何言ってるかわからないって。
I mean, I think she's the one that's being super unreasonable, right? He hasn't eaten, so it makes sense that he's the one that should go out rather than she.
天已经开始黑了，再不快点，商店要关门了。
Then again, this is probably part of the comedy where they don't understand each other.
もうそんな怒ったみたい言わないでよ。
He was getting agitated now, and I had no idea what the problem was. He seemed angry, and I was a little scared.
好吧，总之我要出门了，记得帮我画一下。
ちょっとどこ行くのよ。
He ignored me and left. I mean, come on, you yourself said that he probably hadn't eaten yet. And he's been here when you were outside. So it makes sense that he want to eat food at least. Why not think that way? I was left behind on a rapidly darkening platform. I resisted the urge to simply leave as well. Someone had to stay behind and watch the old station.
でもなんか本気で腹が立ってきた。
By the time he got back, it was going to be too late to buy anything. I tried to tell him we didn't have power. I still had his bento too.
もう知らない。
She actually gonna go outside? Wow. Oh, okay. She didn't. I ate the seaweed bento alone in a dark room. I even forced myself to eat the bento I'd failed to give to him.
苦しい。ちょっと食べ過ぎたかも。
My stomach was filled, but my anger hadn't dissipated. I peeked outside my room. He wasn't back yet. I looked around my room and saw nothing to sleep on. All I had was a small blanket I had brought with me. He would have to ward off the cold at night alone.
よし、今日はもう寝る。
I don't know how cold it gets in Japan in winter. Here in Indonesia, since we're in a tropical climate, we don't have winter. Just sunny and wet. I declared to the dark room. And so I slept in Tokyo for the first time, vaguely angry with what had seemed like inconsiderate behavior to me. My chest hurting from having eaten too much. And even forgetting to lock the door.
商店还是都关门了。
Oh shit, how is he gonna eat now? I'd walked around the main station a little, but there weren't many electric appliance stores anyway. It was mostly clothing stores. Many skyscrapers were just office buildings. I'd also looked for a store selling bentos, but they were closed as well. I briefly considered eating at a proper restaurant, but the prices were far too high. There are actually some, like bars and stuff that are pretty cheap in Japan. And they are open pretty late too, like the Izakaya ones.
来之前是听说过物价贵，可这物价也太离谱。
Oh, then again, this is the bubble, so everything should be expensive right now, yeah. Forgot about that. A simple meal easily came in at 1,500 yen. Perhaps this area was unusually expensive. Yes, Harajuku is a trap. On a side note, at this time, an important city official in China earned perhaps 100 yuan a month. I don't know how much that is. That was about 3,400 Japanese yen. God damn, that's so little. Yowza. A month? Man, I don't know how the economy is in 1987 for China. In Indo, I think the economy wasn't that bad up until 1998. It was insane to me that a single meal could cost almost half their monthly salary. Of course, I knew that wages tended to reflect the cost of living, in our case as well. Either way, there was no comparison to China. We were getting 400 yen per hour doing nothing. Even splitting the wage with her, I was getting 4,800 yen per day.
只要节约点，马上就能攒一大笔钱了。
In the end, all I managed to buy were candles and no food. I wasn't going to starve to death. Since I didn't know when the power would be back, candles were more important.
你还醒着吗？
There was no response. Her room was totally dark.
难道已经睡了？
Man, I feel bad for this guy. The fact that he didn't eat any food. I wasn't sure. But I wasn't the kind of man who entered girls' room without permission. I went back to my room. There I lit one of the candles I just bought. My room was very small, but it had traditional Japanese tatami mats. Those were rare, and I liked the room because of them.
真是忙碌的一天。
My first day in Japan. My first day at work. I'd met a lot of people. Perhaps I'd been lucky. I didn't think many found an agreeable job so quickly. The wage was good as well, even split. A place to sleep had been my biggest worry, and that was solved.
这种工作，应该就是所谓的抬地价吧。
True. True. That's probably true. I had read up on a variety of things before coming to Japan. If someone was living on a property, and it wasn't possible to demolish the building or sell the plot, I didn't know who was profiting from this ploy, but earning money just from living there seemed like a very Tokyo kind of thing. This was, of course, legally a bit of a gray area. Oops, sorry about that. Someone came into my room. Had to take care of some business a bit. The books I'd read associated it with the Yakuza.
那个姓江的虽然有点信不过，
It didn't seem like a dangerous job. The most important proof of that had been Zhang trying to get me to do a better paying one. I needed money, but I was confident I could do it properly. I wanted to retake the university entrance exams. Mad amounts of money weren't necessary for that. I wasn't going to destroy myself in pursuit of a pile of dough. It hadn't even been my fault I'd failed the exam. What was your fault then? Why didn't you, pass the exam?
不过这到了晚上还真是有点冷啊。
He might be in denial by the fact that he says that it's not his fault, but you never know. He hasn't told his backstory yet. I whispered and looked into the closet. Inside were a couple of futons and blankets. They smelled a little moldy, but quite suitable to fight off the cold. We could buy new blankets soon.
肚子还是好饿啊。
I guess both of them are very misfortunate right now, since Kana ate, but she's probably freezing while she's sleeping. While Jing, he hasn't eaten anything, but he at least can sleep in a warm bed. Or at least somewhat warm. I hadn't eaten anything all day. I'd only bought candles.
说起来，那个女孩没事吧？
I was curious. My room had originally been intended for habitation, I thought. But hers hadn't. It was just a waiting room with nothing in it. It probably didn't have a futon or a blanket.
给她送个蜡烛和毛毯。
I decided to check up on her. I left my room and walked to her room, the waiting room. I hesitated to enter a girl's room at such an hour. I could feel my own nervousness. If I was lucky, she might share her food with me. It seemed like a good enough excuse to lightly knock on her door. The room was dark. Perhaps she was already sleeping.
喂，你睡了吗？我拿蜡烛过来。
There was no answer. It seemed reasonable to assume she was sleeping. I considered going back, but then entered her room. I could still put a blanket on her.
那我进来了。
Nervously, I walked inside. I could see her curled up on the floor, wrapped in a thin blanket. The room was dark. Her breath was slightly uneven, and she seemed to be cold.
这屋子里果然没有被子。
I leaned over to put the blanket I brought on her. But my eyes fell on something else.
这是吃完的盒饭。
It looked like 2 bentos. There were 2 plastic boxes in the bag. I remembered them. She had brought them back earlier. Apparently she had bought one for me, then decided against it and eaten both. Sorry, I can't hold my laugh at that.
我干了什么惹她生气的事了吗？
I couldn't remember anything. After all, I was bringing her a candle and a blanket. It had taken all I had to overcome my nervousness and enter the girl's room.
算了，晚安吧。
I left her room again. I took the candle and the blanket back with me. Oh my god, these guys are fucking idiots! How are you guys gonna know each other's kindness if you do shit like this? From the platform, I looked at the old rails. I didn't feel like sleeping in my room yet.
我倒也不是生气。
I looked at the candle in my hand. I didn't want to make a big deal out of a single bento. I just felt they were pampered. I felt that way about everyone I'd seen that day. All those young people took their blessed environment for granted. It annoyed me, probably because we were all the same age. I would never have considered such an environment possible where I'd grown up. I looked at the sky and sighed. My breath condensed in the air. The winter constellations were sparkling above. The perspective seemed to be quite different. We were quite some distance to the east, I thought.
那个女孩不用上学的吗？
Notice the crutch, you fool. She looked like she was still in high school. Japanese compulsory education went until middle school. But essentially, everyone stayed until the end of high school, I remembered. Even if it was the winter holidays, the job ran for a year. She probably wasn't going to school at all.
我可是想去上大学，都没去成啊。
And it hadn't been my fault I'd failed. So I'd come to Japan to make money. They had no worries in the world, living a blessed life they didn't appreciate. This, I decided. That was my main impression after a day in Tokyo. I mean, I have to say, it's not just people in Tokyo, I'd say. I think there's about 10 chapters looking at the log here, or the chapter selection. 1987 winter. Even if you don't make her leave, she's just gonna start whoring herself out eventually. What the fuck? Is that our boss? Girls are like that, but maybe you're too stuffy to know about that, huh? Interesting boss we have. Damn, it's been 50 minutes already? Alright, 10 more or so minutes and we'll call it an episode.
寒かった。
I whispered and sat up. I'd spent a whole night wrapped in just my small blanket. The room seems reasonably well sealed. It hadn't been quite as cold as I'd feared.
まずは電気の問題を解決しないと。
I had to talk to the woman from the real estate company about it. They were our employer, but they were also our landlord in a way. I decided against talking to him first. Staying in the building was our job. We couldn't just both leave at the same time.
おはよう。
早上好。
Chao Shanghao? What the fuck? No, it's not Chao Shanghao, damn it. Perhaps it meant good morning. Not that we had any idea what the other was saying, but if the situation didn't allow for many interpretations, it was a lot easier to guess. The problem was exchanging complex information.
ねえ、電気来てないの気づいたでしょ？
I think Chao Shanghao is actually correct though. I might be mistaken.
你昨晚冻着了吧？
ガスは大丈夫みたいだけど、水道も止まってるし。
我再出去买一次东西可以吗？
Of course, we had no idea what was going on. He seemed to understand some very simple Japanese, but I didn't understand any Chinese at all. Anyway, we had to fix the power and the water first.
しょうがないな。
I went to the timesheet and added dashes to my row.
那个啥，工时表不是自己记的。
I ignored what he was saying and simply left him behind. I didn't want to be babbling away unproductively. I had to talk to the woman from the real estate company now.
どうして私ばっかりなのよ。
I grumbled as I left the plot. I wasn't earning money while I was outside. I'd also been walking around mostly without crutches for a pretty long time. I'd hit them near the platform even though walking only short distances was already painful. I didn't want him to know I needed them, much less the woman from the real estate company, since I was afraid they would fire me. I mean, I guess that makes sense.
いらっしゃい。昨日はよく眠れた？まあ。もしかして彼に変なことでもされた？いえ、そういうのじゃないです。一応彼、身元はしっかりしてるんだけどね。ビザも正式のものだったし。
The woman went on a tangent, and a chance to interrupt her was gone. She seemed like a really nice person, but she also did everything her own way. I'd I'd suspected as much the day before already.
実はあの駅舎って電気と水道が来てないんです。あらそう。まあ長いこと使ってなかったから当然よね。そんな他人事みたいに言われても。分かったわよ。業者に急ぐように言っておくわ。
That was good. Living there without power or water would have been impossible in my opinion.
それでいつくらいに使えるようになりますか？水道はすぐだけど電気は1週間くらいかな。1週間ですか。まあとりあえずお風呂はすぐに入れるようになるわ。
I wasn't going to take a bath in the dark. And besides, I wasn't brave enough to take a bath while that guy was around. Perhaps I could put another lock on the bathroom door. The idea didn't seem like it would be much help to me though. As I pondered this, the woman said,
ところで猫は見た？
What is she talking about? She was particularly concerned about that for some reason. She looked unusually serious as she spoke.
いえ、猫は見てないです。そう。猫って野良猫か何かですか？まあね、黒猫よ。
I remembered that she talked about it before. At the time, I didn't think the cat was somehow connected to my work.
もしかしてあそこってよく猫が来るんですか？いえ、そういうわけじゃないわ。だけどもし見かけることがあったら教えてね。はい。
Just like some spiritual, weird thing going on in this old station instead of the land speculation scheme. I left and hurried back to the old station. The longer I spent outside, the less money I would have.
でも猫か。何かあの場所と関係あるのかな？
I thought back on our conversation. Maybe stray cats frequently gathered there. Or perhaps it belonged to someone. Anyway, all I had to do was sell her if it showed up. She hadn't asked me for anything else yet.
うわ、見てあの子、ジャージを。やだ、嘘、何あれ。
They were making fun of my clothes again. Their gazes seemed to sting. There was nothing I could say, so I hurried back to the old station. It did not take me long. Outside the fence, the crowds passed by. But inside, it was quiet and almost otherworldly. Outside, everyone made fun of my clothes. And personally, I preferred a quieter environment anyway.
あ、うっかりしてた。何も買ってきてない。
I'd forgotten to buy various important things. I needed blankets, lights, and most of all, food.
你回来了，挺快的。
悪いんだけど、もう一度外出しようかと。
我一直等着你回来呢。
He said and marked himself with a dash on a timesheet.
说实话，公时表靠自觉自己填，这不太好吧？
今度はあなたが出かけるって意味かな。
有事儿，我马上回来。
ちょっと待って。
Okay, see, this is where she's actually being unreasonable. Right? You go out, you go back, and then you want to go out again? Of course it's gonna inconvenience the other person. Is she... Like, I can understand why Jing's perspective of these guys as spoiled. I stopped him. If it took him a long time to get back, I wouldn't be able to head out again.
怎么了？
He hasn't eaten since yesterday. What do you want from him? You're crazy.
だったら食べるもの何か買ってきてくれる？
Okay, that's reasonable enough.
其实是老板叫我过去一趟。
He gave me a puzzled look. He hadn't understood me. Just use your chopsticks eating things, you know? Like food. I made some eating gestures and repeated my request. There we go. My right hand pretended to hold chopsticks.
食べ物、お弁当、買ってきて。わかる？
So
行，
ridiculous.
明白了。
It seemed he got it though. He said what sounded like being baila again. Apparently he had understood. The area in front of Harajuku Station was perpetually crowded. Oh damn, it's already an hour. I'll probably end the episode after this scene right here. A tree there had been beautifully decorated, and I could hear the sound of jingle bells. Christmas was coming soon. Sometimes a Christmas song I recognized from somewhere drifted by. I was fairly sure it was Yamashita Tatsuro, a Japanese singer.
迈克尔·杰克逊在日本都不流行吗？
Man, the way he said Michael Jackson is very funny. He was quite popular in China. Many young people liked him. Of course, older people didn't have a very high opinion of that. But an American musician coming to China had made all the front pages.
日本这物价也太高了。
I was standing in front of a hot bento store, pondering the prices. I hadn't eaten anything for a full day and I was starving. Alas, the cheapest bento available, a seaweed bento, was 300 yen. The one with grilled meat was 800 yen. I wouldn't have thought it possible a meal could cost so much. And the store had the cheapest meals in the entire neighborhood. Given that my daily salary came out to 4,800 yen, perhaps I just had to stomach the price, but the comparison with China just made me reluctant.
小伙子，
Man, I understand that feeling so well. The fact that sometimes like the prices of something in a different country just cost so much more. A middle-aged man appeared speaking Chinese. It was our first time meeting. He was probably the boss.
您就是江老板吗？
别老板社长的，我听不习惯。江，
好的。
Sorry. We've been talking on the phone a few days earlier. He'd gotten me the job. It was our custom that someone new in Japan was taught the ropes by those who had come before him.
找我有什么事吗？
我听说了，那份工作变成2人一起做了。
是啊，碰到些事情。
你也太老实了吧！
Wow,
把那
this
黄毛
guy.
丫头赶出去不就得了？
I mean, after reading what we just saw in the beginning of the chapter, this guy seems like a prick.
怎么赶？
赶一个小姑娘还不简单？
John grinned at me. It seemed like a bad joke to me, but he wasn't kidding.
反正日本的小年轻儿根本受不了这么无聊的活儿，铁定没几天就干不下去了。就算你不去赶，他迟早也要干风俗去。
Yeah, that exact line. Like, what the fuck? This guy is crazy.
您这话说的，
你这种死心眼儿不了解，年轻女孩就这样。
就算您说的没错。
In fact, she wasn't going to school. All the girls I'd seen so far had seemed very superficial. No traces of impulse control.
我也不是来教育你的。总之跟你说，我这儿有个更好的活儿能给你。
是见不得光的工作？
是不大能见光，但给的票子也多。你自己啊，看着办啊。
John began to walk away again, having decided this was the punchline.
他是多想让我干见不得光的工作啊！
Even talking about it was a risk for me. I wasn't dumb enough to bite. Even if I left her alone, chances were she was going to leave. There weren't many places even in China that didn't have power and water. I didn't think a Japanese person, a young girl at that, was going to accept it. I left Zhang to his own devices and went back to the old station. Leaving the station meant I earned less money. I wanted to head back as soon as possible. I quickly bought only the most necessary things, before remembering that she tried to tell me something.
他好像让我买什么东西。
Food, you fool! Food! She was making gestures with chopsticks! The gestures hadn't been very clear to me. Probably she'd been pretending to eat. There you go.
他是让我买筷子勺子什么的。
No, you idiot, you crazy fool! You get spoons and chopsticks when you buy a bento. I considered the possibility she wanted food, but decided against it. She had bought food the night before. Damn it, you're too smart! Stop overthinking it! Stop overthinking this! 2 bentos, in fact. She'd also been outside earlier. She wouldn't have forgotten to buy food.
总之，买自己的饭就够了吧。
On the way, I also bought a spoon and chopsticks. Oh my god. From a general store for her. I wasn't being very efficient since I could cook myself if I had the ingredients in a pan. But for the time being, there was nothing I could do. Next episode is gonna be pretty fun. With that, I think I'm gonna end the episode right here. I'm enjoying this story. I like it. It's not what I typically enjoy since it seems like a rom-com. I'm just curious about how the story will actually unveil itself, since reading through the synopsis, it said that this is actually not a romance story. So I guess it's just about understanding each other, even though they are different, you know? They're from different countries and don't even speak the same language. Would that be interesting? But with that, I'm going to end the episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Sorry for being MIA again, as usual. This will be out on Wednesday, I feel. First episode should be out on Monday. But yeah, see ya!